You know, I love being here because it means that game time is rapidly approaching, and all the hay is in the barn. You got it done. I mean, it's all set, Chaluch. We've watched film, we've watched practice, and everything else. But we have an opportunity. Like, remember back when we were playing, we'd have a team meeting,
right?
You know, on Fridays. It's just kind of like get together with the boys, sit down, relax, kind of rehash the week. And in rehashing the week, take a look at 1-1 Steelers. That was quite a comeback, bouncing back from Gillette against the 49ers, was it not, my friend?
You know, Wolf, do you think that defense got sick and tired of hearing about their blown coverage? Do you think the Steelers' defense got sick and tired of hearing how unimaginative the defense is? Do you think the Steelers got sick and tired of hearing how they got no pressure? Well, defensively, they got after Colin Kaepernick, who's a tough guy to sacked him 5 times. And they got sick and tired of hearing how that great running game of the San Francisco 49ers were going to come out with 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends. We're talking about it right here. And the Steelers totally shut their water. The 5 sacks were by the outside linebackers and by the inside guys. You had Stephon Tuitt, you had Cam Hayward. You had these guys getting after Colin Kaepernick. And Wolf, defensively, you almost felt like there was redemption of sorts after the loss in New England.
Oh, there's no question about it. Look, you look at this defense, led by Ryan Shazier's 15 tackles. I said it, 15 tackles. 15 tackles is a day's work for a guy like that. It was amazing. But 5 sacks, as you pointed out, 9 tackles for losses, 8 quarterback hurries to stack along with the 5 sacks and the tackles for losses. And then you got 5 passes defense. I don't remember the last time the Steelers had 5 passes defense from the secondary.
Yeah, you know, and considering they only had 1 against New England,
right.
Well, they came in motivated. I think the other question was, I think the offense got sick and tired of hearing these guys are terrible in the red zone. They can't finish drives. Same old Steelers. They're great in between the 20s, but they can't come up with points. Well, 5 for 5 in the red zone, 3 for 3 in goal-to-goal situations. They got after it. They gave Ben plenty of time. The offense looked spectacular. Antonio Brown, all he does is continue to impress you, amaze you. And then you saw Darius Hayward-Bay, who comes up with a touchdown. You talk about redemption for him after stepping out of bounds on an easy touchdown reception in New England. He comes back, catches that deep post, takes it to the house, and you could see the joy on that team. It was almost like there was this giant weight taken off their shoulders because of the way they bounced back from the New England game.
Well, we saw the offense we were anticipating that we really didn't see in Gillette Stadium. We saw 43 points worth. We saw the buck 90-something by Antonio Brown. Big Ben was superb like always. D'Angelo Williams, another great job of knocking down 77 yards, 3 TDs.
Yeah.
And they did it from the spread formation and so forth. But when I look at that, over and over again in my mind was I think DHB was absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, he's catching the ball now because I've seen it with my own eyes.
Right.
All right. He is a tea drinker,
right.
Not a coffee drinker. That's why he can catch the ball now. He don't have coffee jitters.
I got news here. Wait.
No. That's exactly
No. There is caffeine.
Him.
There is caffeine in tea.
Very little caffeine.
No. It's
Come on,
not
every
very
good coffee drink.
No.
Why do you think you got $4?
I'm telling you,
$8
there is caffeine in tea. Make no mistake about it, Wolf. There's caffeine in tea.
You know what? You drink tea, you're probably eating a little granola and hugging a few trees while you're at it.
Tea is number 1 drink in Turkey and chai. In all country, we drink tea every day, and it's very strong.
And where are we, Chalucha? We're at the Cadillac Ranch. Where's that located?
Yeah, look where your boys
is that
are
downtown
drinking.
Istanbul?
Yeah. What's Dave drinking? Iced tea, right? What are your?
He don't want the jitters neither.
I'm telling you.
You know what he'd be doing with the camera? The camera would be shaking like that if he was drinking coffee.
We were told to keep this segment to 5 minutes.
All right, it's time to go to break. When we come back, it's the State of the Steelers right here with Tunch and Wolf.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tunch Ilkin, and we want to welcome Mrs. T's Pierogies to the Pregame Meal roster. Pregame Meal is our new weekly online TV show on the Pittsburgh Podcast Network. Mrs. T's Pierogies are the perfect food to enjoy for casual get-togethers or while you're watching the games with your best buddies. From delicious finger foods to crave-worthy dinners, Mrs. T's Pierogies has you covered. When you crave something real, Satisfying and delicious, but want to keep things simple? Reach for a box of Mrs. T's pierogies. Full details on our weekly pregame show at CraigWolfley.com. All Craig, all the time.
It's time for Wolf's weekly State of the Steelers address.
Well, indeed, it is time for a little breakdown of the past week. Chaluch, we've been watching film. We've been watching practices. We're watching the Steelers as they prepare to take on the St. Louis Rams out there in the Edward something or other dome. What dome is that?
It's the Rams dome.
Yeah, Rams dome. Good enough. It's
Edward James. It's Edward James, right?
I don't know.
I think it's the Edward James Stadium. Anyways, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
They're not one of our sponsors. And if they're not one of our sponsors,
forget about
Raymond James. No, not Raymond
that's
James.
Down in
Edward
that's
somewhere.
Tampa. Yeah.
Anyways, it's one of those financial institutions.
It's Fast Eddie.
That's
all
right.
Fast Eddie Dome.
Yeah.
We got out there because that used to house the greatest show on turf.
I'll tell you what. You want to talk about sponsors? Let's talk about Cadillac Ranch, and these are the best fish tacos I've ever had.
They are awesome.
I'm
no
telling
question
you,
about it.
They are phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Get yourself out here and get yourself some fish taco. I never thought I'd like a fish taco.
I know. That's not your kind of food.
No, you know what I like about it? The portability.
Right.
Because you can walk along with the fish tacos, and you're not going to be throwing them everywhere. They're just perfect.
And they're perfect for you. They're finger food.
Of course. All right.
Because you're not big on knives and forks.
Look, the utensils are always
Keep your focus, boy. Keep your focus.
That's right. Keep my focus.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about it. This week, facing the St. Louis Rams, the big deal, Chaluch, in my mind, is it's the return of Lev Bell. Everything is about Lev Bell coming back in. And here's what really, in my mind, I look at this. You just went through the last 2 weeks without Lev Bell, without Marquise Pouncey, and without Martavis Bryant. You get the best running back in the NFL back. And you've got a guy, D'Angelo Williams, who agreeably stepped aside and I'm very pro-like, I got to tell you. He racked up 204 yards in 2 weeks of being the featured back in the Steelers offense. He steps aside and says, young bull is back, help is on the way.
You know, what a great teammate that you put away your own. And running backs are usually are the kind of guys that want their carries.
Right.
They want their yards. They want their opportunities at touchdowns. But, D'Angelo Williams says, look, it's Lev's job, basically, and we need him. And I'm here to help any way I can. Now, in that conversation with D'Angelo, he knows that he's going to still get his carries. He's going to get his reps, and we've talked about it through the course of the week. How much are we going to see those two guys together in the same backfield? Now, do we see it this week? Maybe, maybe not. But because I think maybe this week we're going to see a lot more of D'Angelo coming in until Lev gets his sea legs, so to speak.
Right.
But I will say this. What you have at your disposal with those two guys in the huddle at the same time and on the field, you can move one into the slot, one at running back, put them both in the slot. You can use them both in split backs. You can't focus on one guy as a defense. So, you love to have Le'Veon back. And I'll say this. Against a defensive line that jets upfield like the St. Louis Rams.
Oh, do they ever.
Having Le'Veon Bell back is going to be absolutely huge.
What I love about him, he's the only back I've ever seen that plays hopscotch on the way to the hole.
Right.
I mean, he's unbelievable. He's a little bounce here, there, this and that. But he's just got something that God gave him. They didn't give some of the other guys. He is unique, and I'm glad for one that he's back because on account of the running from the backfield is huge, but his pass catching is every bit as big or bigger than as part of what he does.
Wolf, he's one of those dynamic guys that every time he touches the ball, you hold your breath because you know he can take it to the house. And you talk about his patience and the skip step that he has. He has the unique ability to kind of slide and glide and then explode. And, you were talking about the skip step and kind of he's got that little kind of wait, and then find the crease and explode into it. And then all of a sudden he's in the secondary and he's got everybody in the rearview mirror. And then from a standpoint, he runs routes like a receiver. He's got great hands. He knows how to set up. And if you're playing man coverage against him, you got a linebacker on him. He wins that battle 99 out of 100 times. So he brings so much, and so that's why you can use him in the slot as your number 3 receiver, put D'Angelo Williams as your running back, and you can have, I mean, look, Todd Haley and offensive coordinators like this, they want to use all their toys. And with D'Angelo Williams and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and Darius Hayward-Bay and Heath Miller, you got a lot of toys to play with.
There's no question about it. Here's one of the things that I love. You got Lev Bell comes back on the practice field. Now, for a lot of guys, Wednesday, the first day in pads, is such as it was this week. A lot of guys, it's kind of like, oh, you're getting back to it, and it's that Wednesday grind. Poor guys only once a week in pads.
Yeah, there ain't no grind. I'm
November.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
You got to throw grind out of it. That can't be in your vocabulary.
All right, so we'll throw grind out, but you got Wednesdays there. But here's Lev Bell. He's in there. He's fist bumping every guy in the huddle. He is a kinetic ball of energy ready to explode. And watching him in those fast feet, boy, you just get all fired up because you're thinking if he can get, and we'll get into the scout report later, but if he can get himself rolling against his defense, this could be a big, big opening day for him.
You know, the excitement that he brings is phenomenal, and the energy, it is contagious. And watching practice yesterday, I saw it. Even it's kind of funny because as competitive as Antonio Brown is,
right?
I was watching him yesterday in practice. I mean, he's just an amazing guy. Every single play in practice, you heard him say it early in the week in the paper that when it's one-on-one, you got to take it personal.
Yes.
He takes every play in practice, he takes it personal. He wants to win. And you know what? Even when you don't throw to him, it's kind of funny because he kind of has that I was open look. I mean, did you see me? I was open.
I know there's 18 guys covering him, and he's open. But anyhow, that's part of what makes him great.
Right.
One of the roster moves that was made this past week, they had to make a move by 4 o'clock yesterday, of course, and that would be Tyler Murphy was released, had clear waivers. Now, Tyler Murphy's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
That's not a bad place for a young guy like that who, recently just made the transition from quarterback to wide receiver. It's a good place for him to grow up.
Yeah, he's the kind of kid, and he has a great understanding of the passing game, being that he's played quarterback. He has a great understanding of coverages. And, now he's learning how to run routes. He's got, for a rookie free agent, he has tremendous savvy, tremendous game awareness. I think this kid is going to be one of those guys that really can develop into something. And I'm glad he cleared waivers. I was a little concerned that he might not, but he did. And now that he's on the Steelers practice squad, he's got an opportunity to learn from Antonio Brown, to learn from Ben,
right,
to learn from Richard Mann, the wide receivers coach, and start taking all because he's got some great physical ability, but now to take that and to grow from it and in it.
The only injury really that had you a little bit worried, or the injury problem, and continuing on, this would be Cortez Allen,
right?
Because Cortez is a guy that you'd hope you can get some snaps out of him, but you got a knee condition. I can speak to that, having had 3 knee operations myself. And the problem is, when it gets chronic, it's very, very hard to get that inflammation out, and becomes problematic. For Cortez, he got in some work on Wednesday, had to pull back a little bit on Thursday, I believe it was. But he's a guy that appears to be ready going into the weekend. But for Cortez, the hardest thing about it when you're a young guy is trying to balance getting the physical work that you need with not over injuring or creating over-inflammation in a body part. You're trying to save your body parts for the game. And so for Cortez, it's that balance. And, when you're young, it's difficult because you got to know yourself, you got to know your needs. When you're older, like you and I were, you could take some time off, but you knew what you needed to get ready for the game. For a young guy like Cortez, it's a little more difficult.
It's tough when you're a young guy and you've got to manage your pain, and you've got to manage it this early in the season. It just shows you that his knee is chronic. And, the thing about him, you would never hear him make an excuse. But one of the reasons he's struggled the last 2 years, last year and a half, is because of that knee. And and hopefully he can get that thing healed because it's tough enough to play this game.
It is.
But playing it hurt is really tough.
And I like what you said. Cortez is not one to offer excuses or anything like that. But I know, watching him, you can tell that, when you have inflammation in one of your knees, your reaction when you plant on that leg, there's a little bit of a lag in time because you don't have the same snap to and power drive right through the leg as you would if you don't have that inflammation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. When we come back, it is time to get going with the pregame meal as we get on with the scouting report. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers heading off to St. Louis. And I think the first scouting report after we come back will be some St. Louis ribs. I like that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Okay. Hello, folks. It's Craig Wolfley. Please join us in welcoming to the team J&D Waterproofing as title sponsor to the Craig Wolfley podcast. J&D Waterproofing and Home Improvements is a third-generation family-owned business, celebrating 75 years of service in waterproofing, wall anchors, excavation, driveways, windows, roofing, gutters, and siding remodeling. They service Western PA, West Virginia, Ohio, and Maryland. Go to www.jdwaterproofing.com.
On deck for the pregame meal scouting report, the St. Louis Rams.
Where'd they get the goats?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, okay, that was too dub. Good engineering here. All right, it's time to take a look at the 1-1 St. Louis Rams. They got themselves a win over Seattle,
right?
And then they lost, of all things, to Washington. Kind of funny there, was it not?
Yeah.
Looking over at this defense. All right, the defense is the big thing that you got to look at because if you're going to St. Louis, you're going to play in the Fast Eddie Dome, and you're going to play on that fast track. The thing that jumps out when you turn on the film, Chaluch, you go back and you get in the theater. You're on there in your lab, as Mike Tomlin likes to call it. You turn on the video projector, which we don't have anymore because it's really all computer stuff. But it just sounded better if I said the video, like in the day. But you look at that defense, and what do you see?
You see 8 guys rotating at the 4 positions on the defensive line. Now you see.
You're going to start there, are you?
Let's go right there. Look, if you look at the St. Louis Rams over the last 3 years during Jeff Fisher's tenure, you'll see 153 sacks. 153 sacks in 3 years. That's over 50 sacks a year. That is phenomenal. Now, Greg Williams, who was the defensive coordinator of Jeff Fisher when he was with the Tennessee Titans, went to be head coach with the Bills, and then was down in New Orleans with the Saints. And, of course, we all know about Bountygate, and he was suspended for a year. But this is his second year as a defensive coordinator. And it looks like these guys are finally getting the feel of the way he likes to call his defensive scheme, and it is play the run on the way to the quarterback. Get early or penetration, quick penetration, especially from the inside guys, Wolf, and disrupt everything. Disrupt the running game and the passing game by penetration. And, Wolf, as you look at them, and I know you saw this kid play in high school, but Aaron Donald is
phenomenal.
He's a phenomenal player.
I saw and had the privilege of broadcasting a couple of his high school games, and that was Aaron Donald from Penn Hills. And I started calling him the Donald because, that was when Donald Trump had first broke out, with that The Apprentice and everything back a few years ago. And so I made the remark on air. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this kid playing on Sundays someday. Now, think about it. A high school kid playing in high school, looking like a man amongst boys, getting triple teamed, and still able to make plays. Little did I realize the greatness that he would be. I mean, phenomenal performer. When you look at him, he is short of stature, which really supposedly was going to hurt him in the draft. And the Rams, they said, don't worry about it, we'll take you. But he's only 6'1", 285. He is quick, muscular, powerful. Those ham hocks drive. He's so quick to explode. He's just a living, breathing ball of quick twitch muscles.
Right.
He reacts like you sneeze.
Yeah. When you watch him, he plays with that. And I don't get the whole we want tall guys in the defensive line. I don't get that at all. Small guys are harder to block.
They are because they play with under and up leverage.
And this guy plays with tremendous leverage. He is relentless. He's always working to get to the quarterback. He's always working to get to the running back. He's got the full repertoire of moves, and he's natural at it, Wolf. I mean, he'll throw the rip, then he'll club off of it. He'll throw the rip, then he'll spin off it. He'll club both sides. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Michael Dean Perry, a little bit of John Randall from the Minnesota Vikings.
Another guy that I would put up there. But the thing that also makes him even better is he's lining up next to a guy you were raving about earlier in the week.
Michael Brockers, who's the nose tackle. And they don't play a true odd man front. They play shades. And they'll play Michael Brocker, who is like the nose tackle. And he's a 6'5", 326 guy, 26 pounds. He is relentless getting to the ball carrier. He had 13 tackles versus Seattle. And then he had 9 last week against the Washington Redskins. For an interior lineman to have that many tackles is amazing. And this guy, same thing. He's relentless. He's physical. He's a tough guy, these guys. And the thing about it, and then their outside guys, Chris Long and Robert Quinn, man, they just jet upfield, and they are so relentless as a group. And this is what Greg Williams loves to do. He's got 8 guys.
Right.
He rotates them all.
Right.
They're all fast. Blow it up. Get penetration. If you make a tackle on the run, they don't care if they get gashed on the run. They've been gashed. They've had been gashed several times, and they get after it though.
The interesting thing is you pointed out. St. Louis defense will play shades. They'll just shade. I call it 50 shades of pain.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they will. Everything they do is about blowing up field. Right. But getting back to your man, Howie Jr., because Chris Long is the son of NFL Hall of Famer Howie Long, who Tunch and I both played against. Reminds you of his dad, but he's not as ballistic as his dad. But he is faster at top end than his dad, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and he gets upfield in a hurry. It's 6'3", 268. Just a tremendous athlete, and he's probably one of their biggest hustle guys. He gets sacks. He's got the speed, and he's got tremendous
just a high
hustle.
motor guy.
The guy on the other side, Robert Quinn.
Yeepers.
Robert Quinn looks like Ryan Shazier as a defensive end.
Yeah.
Gets upfield, and he'll get the edge on you. He's got a little skip and jump move where he slaps the hands.
So he's non-rhythmic.
Just kind of like.
Tell me about his hands, because I thought he was the best hands fighter amongst the group up front.
He'll slap them, he'll sweep them, and he'll pick them up, and then he will just end with a lockout. And so he's got guys, and this is what he does really well. Because guys are so worried about their speed, the offensive tackles, they vertical set, and they bail out of there in the hurry. The problem is, at 265, he can bull rush you as well, and he's got a decent one-arm lockout, that one-arm stab, and that's why he had 19 sacks 2 years ago. Last year, I think his production was down. He had 10 sacks last year, but he also had 37 quarterback hurries and 24 hits. I mean, he is always around the quarterback. Great matchup for Kelvin Beachum this week at St. Louis.
You guys you got coming in behind him, you got Nick Fairley.
Yeah.
Remember him of the Detroit Lions?
Yeah.
You said the second best guy behind Ndamukong Suh and free agent defensive tackles. And then you also have the defensive end, William Hayes.
Right, and Eugene Sims. Those guys are all getting after
it.
Yeah, they'll run, and they'll give them a shot, man. Last week 1 against Seattle, Eugene Sims had a sack, and William Hayes, he's not the same motor as the other guys. He's a little more of a veteran guy, kind of picks his spots. But remember this, they sacked Russell Wilson 6 times.
Oof.
I mean, it was like a defensive line meeting at the quarterback versus Seattle, and it was
a couple of them were real jailbreak situations, were they not?
And they get after it. So their defensive line is going to be a great challenge for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, let's take a look at the linebackers. All right, you got yourself James Laurinaitis. You got Ogie Oglethorpe. Actually, it's
Alec Ogletree.
We call him that after
Ogie Oglethorpe.
Yeah, Slapshot. If you're a fan of the movie Slapshot.
Yeah.
That as we are, that was kind of how we nicknamed, but Alex Ogletree. And then, of course, you have Akeem Ayers. Tell me about him.
Well, let's start with Ogie Oglethorpe. Alec Ogletree, he brings the pain just like Ogie Oglethorpe did. This guy, when you're watching the game, when you watch the defensive reel, 52 keeps jumping into the screen. And it's hard when you've got guys like Aaron Donald and the explosive, dynamic playmaking ability he brings, the way he jumps out of the screen. And then you look at Robert Quinn. He jumps out of the screen to you. So there are guys competing for your attention when you watch film. 52 is like that. Ogie Ogletree, he'll blow plays up. He's very athletic. He's very fast. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. He led the team in tackles last year, and he is a dynamic player. James Laurinaitis, the middle linebacker, he was second by one tackle on his team. This guy leads the team in tackles every year. Now, he's not a dynamic he's just one of those quiet guys.
He knows how to play the game.
Right. That's a great way to put it, because you watch him and he doesn't like jump out at you, but yet all of a sudden you look at it and you go, hey, that guy, you know what, 55 is making a lot of plays.
Yeah.
And then you look down at the stat sheet and you see that he's had 11, 12 tackles. He is consistent. Akeem Ayers is the fifth-year guy at UCLA. We've seen him. He's bounced around a little bit, and he's just one of those pros. He's just a steady guy.
Let's go to the secondary of the St. Louis Rams, because you got Akeem Ayers and Tremaine Johnson on the corners. You got Tremaine Johnson and you got Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah.
But T.J. McDonald and Rodney McLeod, I like the safeties.
Yeah.
Let's throw Mark Barron in there. You got some physical, hard-whopping safeties in there. Who do you think is the strength of that secondary? Is it the safeties, or is it the corners?
Well, I will say this. It is the safety, T.J. McDonald. He is a tough guy. He is a thumper. At 6'2", 217 pounds, he's got tremendous range, and he makes plays. They like to bring him on the blitz. They like to get him and his backup, Mark Barron, on the field at the same time. Barron is the same guy, just doesn't have the range as T.J. McDonald. And then McLeod, the free, he's your typical free. He's a smart guy. He's usually in position. He's the last line of defense tackler. Although I will say this, against Washington, took a couple of bad angles, missed a couple of tackles, and I think that hurt him. I think the corners are just guys. Probably their best is Janoris Jenkins. He's their matchup guy. A lot of times if you've got a good receiver, they're going to put him on. But there's no way he can run with Antonio Brown. So I think it's going to be another big game for AB.
Just quickly before we go to offense, Chulich, one of the big things I think is you look at what Washington did to them. They exploited their aggressiveness up the field, popped a couple of big runs, rushed for a total of 182 yards. Yeah. I like this because I think this matchup, if the Steelers can seal the inside, get a gap, get a crease, and pop Lev Bell loose, I think he could still be running.
Yeah, they're not afraid of getting gashed in the run game. Not at all. They've given up 8 runs over 10 yards. They've given up 6 runs over 20 yards. 4 runs. They just 4, I believe, over 30. They really have struggled with big plays, running the ball. But it's almost like Greg Williams says this: I don't care, because that's not going to beat us, although Washington did beat them with it. But they're more concerned with hitting your quarterback and forcing you into turnovers.
We're going to jump over to the Rams offense. Taking a look at the offensive line, starting with left tackle Greg Robinson, left guard Jamon Brown. You've got center Tim Barnes, right guard Roger Saffold, and right tackle Rob Havenstein. To me, the weakness in that offensive line is I don't think
Havenstein,
him too. Havenstein. I look at him and I think, well, that you've got our defensive line, that being the Steelers' defensive line, should be able to whop their offensive line. Do you not think so?
There are 2 starters that are rookies: Jamon Brown, who was their 3A pick, and Rob Havenstein, who was their second-round pick at right tackle. And then you've got their second-year guy, Greg Robinson, who was the 7th pick of the draft in 2014. And I will say this: the rookie at left guard and the second-year guy, Greg Robinson, they're both athletic. And they both, I think, are going to be good offensive linemen, but they're not there yet. And I think what they do is you see their rawness, their lack of savvy, and they both open the gate. In other words, they play position more than straight up, and that will hurt them, especially against Cam Hayward and James Harrison and Jarvis Jones. I think Cam's going to have another one of his big games. Center Timmy Barnes. He's just not. I think they were looking for center, and he's it.
You're it.
Yeah, Roger Saffold, the right guard, is their best player. Now, he started some games at left tackle last year, right tackle and left guard. He's starting at right guard this year. He's their best player. But I think the Steelers will do a great job of taking advantage of these young guys. They drafted 4 rookie offensive linemen last year. 4 rookie offensive linemen. They've got 5 rookie offensive linemen that have made the team. So that tells you how bad they were hurting for offensive linemen. They lost 4 of their starters from last year.
Well, the strength of this offense really is in their tight ends, and that would have to be Jared Cook and Lance Kendricks. But Jared Cook's the man.
Yeah, Jared's their best. We've seen Jared Cook. Remember, we saw him at Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's in his 7th year. He runs great routes. He's he's capable of big plays. He's their leading receiver this year. Lance Kendricks. He's the guy that Nick Foles looks for in the red zone. He's one of those guys that's really good down near the goal line. Has a lot of touchdown catches in his 5-year career. He's out of Wisconsin. But you're right. Those 2 guys are it. The receivers don't scare you. Kenny Britt, we know Kenny Britt from the Tennessee days as well. But really, the guy that I think they want to get really more involved is Tavon Austin. He has not, Wait
a minute, West Virginia man.
Yeah, West Virginia man. That's right. Tavon Austin.
Not to mention Stedman Bailey, but he's just because he was a West Virginia man. I have to throw it out there.
Well,
I have
okay.
2 brothers that played there.
That's right, and Stedman Bailey as well. But so here's the thing about Tavon Martin. All they talked about coming in this year, we want to get him the ball more. We want to get him the ball more. And they're pulling the Where's Waldo with Tavon Martin. He's lining up a slot. He's lining out wide. He's lining up in the running back. They want to get his hands on the ball on reverse, on tosses,
Tavon
on
Austin,
screen.
by the way.
What'd I say?
Tavon Martin.
Tavon Martin.
Yeah.
Tavon Austin.
You're thinking about Martin's Ferry, which is close down in West Virginia. No, okay.
So it is close. Martin's Ferry's right across the river. But here's the deal. It hasn't happened. Now, he's got 1 touchdown, 75-yard punt return.
Right.
When he touches the ball, he is capable of taking it to the house. And one of the things that you've got to be careful with is you got to know where he's lining up. And the kind of interesting thing is, do they play Todd Gurley, who's not practiced until this week?
I hope not, because as Arnold says, don't be a girly man.
Yeah.
We don't want a girly man
right.
come breaking out this weekend, because, if you talk to Bud Dupree says this guy could be in a league by himself in a couple of years. That's pretty hefty, high praise coming from Bud Dupree to a guy like Todd Gurley. But Todd Gurley, of course, recuperating from a knee injury he suffered last year. Still a first-round draft pick by the Rams. But coming back to this, the Tavon Austin, you got yourself Nick Foles is the guy that's putting it all together.
Nick Foles is huge. He's 6'5", 245 pounds, big arm. He threw that deep post to Kenny Britt last week. I think it was like a 40-yard touchdown pass against the Washington Redskins. But more impressive is the arm strength to the sidelines. I mean, he can throw from the left hash to the right sidelines and get it there on a frozen rope. I mean, he has got a strong arm. Last year, when the Steelers played the Eagles, where he was 14-4, by the way, when the Steelers played the Eagles in the preseason, I was going out there and I was standing next to him as he was warming up, and he's huge. I mean, he's literally huge. I mean, just got thick legs. His hindquarters are he's got that build, and he's athletic enough to make you miss and not go down for the sack, and he can run for the first down. He's a good athlete, but he relies on his arms and his smarts, and he doesn't throw a lot of lollipops up there. So when you get a chance to get your hand on his throws, you got to make sure you come down with it.
All right. Is there anything I missed?
No, you got it all, buddy. That's it.
I missed a fish taco.
You missed a fish taco, and I know you're dying to get. You're trying to end the show to get to the fish taco.
Absolutely. Hey, we want to thank everybody here. Appreciate you. Thank you, Cadillac Ranch. Thank you, J&D Waterproofing, and we also want to thank Mrs. T's Pierogies, because they are coming on board here, and we want to just appreciate the people that came out today. Thank you so very much. And the next live taping of the show is Thursday, not Friday, but next Thursday before the Ravens game. We will do a real live pregame meal, just as you would if you were playing that night right here at the Cadillac Ranch. Join us. Looking forward to it. It's Tunch and Wolf. See you next Thursday before the Ravens game. Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Wolfley, and you can watch all of the NFL games right here at the Cadillac Ranch. They have the NFL Sunday Ticket. They got a great game day menu. You can watch the Steelers here at the Cadillac Ranch.
They got great monitors, great action, and most importantly, they got great food.
You got it.